I know, it's like,
Hey, what's up, guys? We are back. This is the Crypto Cardland Podcast. We're episode number 92.
92.
Hopefully, we can keep this going without any kind of problems like last time. I don't know what the heck was going on. Could have
Talking
been
about the government.
yeah,
That's what it was.
pretty much, yeah. So,
that's what I believe. I'll
She
stick
mentioned
with
the
it.
C-O-I-N-T-O-N-S. I don't want to say so myself, so I don't want to say it.
nice. But yeah, anyways, as I said, episode 92. Before we begin tonight's episode, make sure you hit those little buttons, click, like, subscribe. That way you get turn on notifications. That way when we go live, you go live with us. Trust me, this week you definitely don't want to miss out.
Ooh,
All the happenings. Got some fun stuff going on this week.
Super jealous of what Leo's going to do this next week.
Yep. So, with that being said, like I said, make sure you turn notifications on. What Jake's kind of alluding to is I'm going out to California, leaving tomorrow.
Shut up. Are you? You didn't tell us.
Whatever. Go out to California for the week, and then I'm going to go on Wednesday. I'm set to go out and film with David Oman, which, if anybody knows, he was on the podcast a couple of weeks ago chatting with us live on air. He owns the infamous Oman House, which what it is, it's off of Cielo Drive. And if anybody knows those names, that's basically where the first murders that Manson not Manson, but his flunkies committed, where they went in and killed the actress Sharon Tate. And,
Froze.
okay, you sure? Hang on.
Yeah, we're kind of moving a little bit.
Everyone,
Yeah, it's a little choppy.
Yeah, I don't know what. Awesome. Don't know what else to do, honestly, at this point. Kind of annoyed. I don't know. I don't know. Chris says we're good. So,
Chris, are we still good or are we choppy?
waiting. I don't know anymore. Let's see.
Is it just Facebook that keeps giving us the
No,
hassle?
look, YouTube's
I
doing the
don't
same
know,
thing.
probably both.
I can watch both of them. Like, come back and stop, come back and stop at the same time.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what's changed or why this is doing this, but hey, alright then. I don't want to start over again. I'll keep on going here in just a second.
Okay.
Let's see what this is doing. Sorry about the people at home. We've been having troubles lately. I don't know what else to do.
The sound is good, the video is
A little
not.
choppy.
Yeah, so. Well, stupid video.
Yeah.
You know? Oh well, we'll keep talking. Even if we have to shut down cameras, we'll keep talking.
Yeah. But anyways, what I was talking about before this crashed. Sorry, everything's going real at a snail's pace. Shoot. I don't want to start it over. I'm just stupid. Yeah, everything's going real slow. I wonder if I kill this, will it kill everything? Probably. Hang on, let me see. Let me do something real quick.
Sound is fine.
Do what?
Yeah, it says you said talk away. It sounds great.
Yeah,
Alright,
Don't
well.
fart or talk shit, the sound's still working.
I'm doing
Yeah,
it
go
one.
ahead. Go ahead and tell us what's going on. Yeah.
So yeah, anyways, I started to say before this went ape shit. I'm going out to California, leaving tomorrow, and I'm headed for work. But I get the opportunity to go out and investigate at the infamous Oman House, which just happens to sit down, what they say, 150 feet down from the actual murder
Yeah,
house
it's just right down the street.
of the Sharon Tate murders and her friends that the Manson followers committed. I'll be out there on Wednesday night. Gonna go live if I'm sure it'll work this time because I'm gonna go with a different source than what we're using in the studio here. But I'm gonna go live that night, and I'm actually gonna be part of his podcast also too. David does a podcast from it's called the Omen House Paranormal Investigations, and he asked me if I wanted to be on that too. So that starts at 7 o'clock Pacific time, so it'll be 9 o'clock here. Unfortunately, remember they're 2 hours behind, so. So it's going to be a late night for if anybody wants to watch. We'll be going live there from 7 to 8 with the podcast, followed immediately by going live on the Cryptic Heartland podcast. We'll go do the actual investigation. Be a little different than what we did. What we've been doing during our live investigations, like we did in Nest City and also Santa Fe Depot and Dodge City. What we're going to be doing, I'm going to be using a handheld camera that'll go infrared, and we'll do it live on Facebook. So be prepared for that. It'll be fun.
It's gonna be great to watch.
Yeah.
I'm excited for you.
Yeah,
so.
me too.
I'm excited too. I don't like flying. I hate flying, so
Oh, me too.
that's the part
Me
I'm not
too.
looking forward to. But
We got a room full of people here.
Yeah.
Yep. So it just happened to work out in my favor to where I was able to go and, like I said, get this set up with him. And I was gonna try to do some extra surprises on there too, but that didn't come through, unfortunately. So who knows?
So,
We'll go back.
so you've had a fascination with the Manson murders for how long?
Oh God, for probably since the '90s, I'd probably say, when I started reading about the books like Helter Skelter, and then they had a follow-up book called The Manson Family, and just I don't know why this type of stuff has always interested me. Like serial killers to ghosts to
Well, you
conspiracy theories.
were trying to go to criminal justice, right?
Well, yeah, that's my degree is
Right.
criminal justice.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So,
it
but-
kind of fits.
Yeah, it really does. I mean, I like investigating stuff. I mean, that's why I like history side too. That was going to be my other major. If I couldn't do criminal justice, it was going to be history because I like history,
Right.
which kind of fits into what we do because we go to historical places.
Do a lot of history.
Yeah, talking to something from the past, possibly more times than not, and plus we get to see all these cool ass buildings. We get to look at things that nobody else gets to see.
Right.
The places that when I talk about Wichita, even here alone about the tunnels, they're like, "There's tunnels here." I'm like, "Oh yeah," but a lot of them are blocked off, but we know they're there. We got to go underneath the Orpheum Theater at one point, and that was fun because we got to go see the old speakeasy that was
Right.
that was there. Now it's all dirt floors and things like that. But had we not been doing this investigating things, we would never get to see this. So, so it'd be fun, like I said, the podcast from David's is 7 to 8 Pacific time, so that'd be our time would be 9 to 10. I followed, but hopefully immediately going live on Cryptic Heartland with the actual investigating side, so that'll be probably 10 o'clock here, hopefully till whenever. So yeah, it'll be fun, but I'm kind of nervous because if anybody's watching this show is like Ghost Hunters to I won't say the other one because he's not a fan of that one. So
There's done about 7 or 8 different shows.
he's been on
episode.
quite a few. My Ghost Story to
Oddly, it's the highest grossing episode on each show.
Yeah.
It's the one that's been played and watched the most. It's his house.
Explain to everybody a little bit about why his house.
Well, like I said, the original house on Cielo Drive has been torn down where the murders happened. After the murders happened, somebody bought it shortly after. I can't remember the years between the murders to when they bought it. But the person didn't want to have, a bunch of looky-loos, we'll say, a bunch of gawkers. So what they did is he tore the house down and also changed the address. Not David, the original owners, the owner that bought this house after the murders occurred. So I'm not sure if it was early 2000s or maybe late 90s, David and his dad just happened to buy land down the street from this, the original Tate house. And they built this, I think it's like 4 stories house, built into the side of the mountain. There's like 3 or 4 houses on the street, right, side by side. And he said, just nothing of it, started just living there. And then one day he woke up and he saw a figure standing at the edge of his bed, a male figure, and it startled him. He's like, "Holy crap, who's this guy, standing on my bed?" And then it dissipated. So he's like, "Oh, that was weird." And then it kind of intrigued him a little bit because he knew that the murder house was, where original location was up the street. And so he went down to, I can't remember if he went to the library or if it was like, he went somewhere and did some research on the Manson murders. And he was going through some of the victims' pictures, like, not the crime scene footage, but just the actual pictures of each individual. And he came across one, he's like, holy crap, that's the guy I saw at the end of my bed. And it happened to be Jay Sebring, who was one of Sharon Tate's, depends who you talk to, is her friend. They used to date back in the days, I guess, and they supposedly they maybe even still had a thing, who knows. But she was married to Roman, the producer, Roman Polanski, but at the time, and
He
so
was off filming a movie.
he was over in Europe, yep. So, and she had visited him just right prior to that. She went out to Europe to visit him and gave him for, I think it was his birthday, gave Roman a book, like a special limited edition. I can't remember what book it was. And she's like, that's the last time she's ever talked to him. Went back to the U.S. He was supposed to come home a few days later, I think, or something, or she was going to go back out there eventually. But she was pregnant, also, too, so that made travel a little bit testy, so she didn't go out there too often to visit him while he was over filming overseas. But, yeah, so ended up being a mistaken identity, possibly. I mean, because Manson had been to the house before. He was looking for another guy that used to be there. The guy's name was Terry Melcher. He used to be the actress's, well, he is the actress's Doris Day's son, and Manson knew him from the days of being there. What Manson didn't know, he told Tex Watson, Susan Atkins, and all them to go up there to this house and kill everybody there, basically, because he thought Terry Melcher still lived there.
Why was he after him?
Because Manson, before all this went down, he was trying to become a musician, and he was friends with the Beach Boys, Dennis Wilson, or I think it was Dennis Wilson or Brian Wilson, one of the Wilson brothers. He hung out with him a couple times, and
Melcher did?
No, Charles Manson did.
Oh, did he?
Yeah,
Okay.
he was trying to get his music published. Yeah. Trying to get his music published, and I think he had met the Beach Boys at the house or something, or Terry Melcher was one of them that was there, and just basically, turned him away, said, whatever, didn't like his music pretty much. So, but the weird thing is the Beach Boys ended up, I think, covering one of his songs down the road, and there's been a couple people that have covered Manson songs.
Right.
Yeah. And I've listened to them. They're not terrible.
I mean, Guns N' Roses did, didn't they?
Yeah, they did.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're not terrible. They're folky, which is not my music, but
Right,
I just gave them a listen because it is what it is, But so he, like I said, wanted to be produced and wanted to get his music out there to the world, but he also had his second agenda, about taking over the world, being the Messiah and all that, whatever you want to call him, or the Satan, whatever you want to call him. Lucifer, depends how you look at it, but yeah. So, anyways, he gave him, strict orders to go up there and kill everybody in the house, thinking that Terry Melcher still lived there because he wouldn't produce his music. And no, it ended up being Sharon Tate and her friends, and basically it was mistaken identity, but they were there to do what Charles told them to do, so his followers, and they went there and killed everybody. And then a couple days later they killed the La Biancas.
Right.
A few days later.
And why them?
Well, that's another thing too. Supposedly Manson had been in, I think, a house close by there too. I think he knew all these houses basically, or at the vicinity anyways. He didn't know his probably direct addresses. He just knew it was one of these houses and sent people there to do things. But he was trying to start a race war where he basically after they killed I think it was the La Biancas, they took, I think his name was Lino, the main guy, the husband, is Lino and Rosemary. They took his wallet or her wallet or purse something, and they put it in a black neighborhood, basically, put it in this toilet. So when they got found, they'd probably think, oh, a black person must have did this. And his whole thing was they would go out to the desert and wait till all this big race war happened, and they would go underground. And then once everything, was over, the race war, he would come out and be the leader of all the people. That was his thinking, whatever. But Manson's thinking, should I say. But, yeah, I don't know. He was just a guy with his own crazy agenda. You've seen his interviews. The dude is fascinating to listen to because, man, that guy can stream, or spin a story just nobody else's business. But
he can go from normal to crazy just like that, man. Just
without
missing a beat, and then right back.
there's a lot of urban legends. I mean, like during the the Tate murder trial, they were talking about how Manson was in court, just trying to larger than life kind of a thing, and he talked about one time he jumped up on the table from a sitting position, like just sitting there, and jumped up and landed on his feet on the table, and was going to go after one of the lawyers or judge, I can't remember what it was, but the fact that he could do that from a sitting position was pretty impressive. Because the guy's a little guy. I mean, he was like 5 foot something, little. I think he maybe 5 foot, 5'2" maybe, and he was tiny. But the fact that this guy was, he was able to talk all these people into doing all this crazy stuff, and they thought the world of Charlie. I mean, some of his stuff he talks about, and I'm not trying to glorify Charles Manson by any means, but he had that I think it's outlaw, whatever it's called, the air. What's it called? Air. I can't remember what the hell it stood for. Where it's air, water, and all this stuff. Basically, he was about the earth kind of a thing.
Okay.
But why he decided to go the other route and twist it into whatever, I think a lot of it was the drugs at the time.
Right.
I mean, there's some good 60s drugs going on, because he started out in, San Francisco with the free love movement. So
LSD and whatnot was
Yeah.
real strong and
yeah, he had his
makes you go on all kinds of crazy journeys and who knows what.
yeah. So just a weird guy, but like I said, what happened was, like, going back to David in the house. Kind of got off on a Charles Manson tangent there a little bit, but going back to the house, he basically, like I said, he happens to live 150 feet from the driveway of where these murders were committed, inside the house and whatnot, and he's seen a woman that they think is Sharon Tate roaming inside the house, down the street, because it's a long winding
See, I
street.
might be wrong, but I think what I read was like none of those houses in those 4 were there, and I think all that part of the street and the Tate house was all the same like piece of property.
Yeah, it was all one big long driveway.
So,
Yeah, because like I said, David and them didn't build their house until, like, I want to say late
I
90s
think
or
it was
2000s.
late 90s.
Yeah, early 2000s.
Yeah.
So, and
But
that
I think
happened.
I think it's on the original land. It was divvied up or whatever.
Could be. Yeah, I don't know about that part. I can ask him when he's on there, but yeah, I don't know. It's crazy. So all is good. Okay.
Yeah, sounds
Becky
so
did.
good.
Good. So, yeah, I mean, it's going to be crazy, like I said, because I've seen the shows, every show that he's been on, from,
Right.
like I said, My Ghost Story to the original Taps, Ghost Hunters, and including that one we want to talk about.
Right.
They've all had some crazy, earlier we played some EVPs from there, which was pretty wild. I mean, just listening to that, it sounds like Sharon Tate to me. I heard her voice. I mean, in a couple of shows, she did Valley of the Dolls. She did a couple other things that were, out there, and it sounds like her. I mean, maybe it's just me thinking it's her.
It was the EVP caught on Ghost Hunter.
Ghost Hunters, yeah, and that was like season 1 or 2 of the. They
So
were
I
on
doubt
there.
that. I'm gonna have to go back and watch that now.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. It's kind of surreal, and they had Chris Fleming on there. If anybody knows who that is, he's a psychic medium. He's been around for years, and they brought him in for this episode, and he was picking up on all these spirits that possibly were some of the Manson victims, and it was crazy because they had some light anomalies going, some high spikes on the millimeters and stuff, and then they went back and listened to the EVPs, and they caught all that crazy stuff.
I want to know more about the horse and the Indian.
Yeah, I saw that, and it was on the show I'm not talking about, but it was on that show they mentioned it, because they brought in, what's the guy's name? He's a famous doctor, oh god, dang, I should know this. He's been on a couple of shows too, Dr. Barry, is it Barry? I'll think about it here in a minute, sorry, I should have been more prepared on that, but he is one of them that stepped foot on there and then had to leave immediately, because he said if I stayed there, it would have killed me.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he ended up in the hospital actually. Right after that, because the EMF is so high there that it's crazy. I mean, that's why I'm kind of nervous to go into this place. 'Cause I know what's there in a manner of speaking, and it's just like, oh man.
But you've been dreaming to go here. For
I have.
You got to do it.
Oh, I'm
man, for all of
gonna,
us.
yeah. Because I've seen the videos. I've seen what they've shot he has this one area. It's by his fireplace. It has a big old mantle, and he has all these little, like we have on our stage or on our set right here, a bunch of little knick-knack people, you know, and stuff.
Yeah.
And he has one that happens to be Beetlejuice, and for some reason that one gets knocked over all the time. Just that one, enough to where they were filming it, and it happened on camera, right on command. Knocked that over, and then knocked over.
Really?
So they picked it back up, started banging on the mantle, trying to see if, okay, this has got to be an explanation for this
Right.
happening, and it wouldn't fall over. It's just the fact that you ask for it, you get it. So it's pretty crazy stuff, yeah. And there's all kinds of, like I said, not light anomalies going on there all the time. I mean, sorry, I got distracted by something. Some of the videos out there, David has a bunch on his page. So like I said, if you haven't, go out and on Facebook and like Omen House Paranormal Investigations. He does live stuff all there all the time throughout the year. He has a bunch of stuff on YouTube. He has a bunch of stuff on Facebook. He just brought a book out too, where that's what he was talking about on our show a couple weeks ago when he was jumping in. He was saying it's called The Ghost of Cielo Drive. So if you get a chance to, pick it up, and he'll tell you what's there, what he's experienced, and it's pretty crazy stuff.
So basically, the spirits there in that from the property from the former house is just dispersing everywhere up there on that
Yeah.
hill.
Well, I think it's because, like I said, it's the original. Like in his basement, there is the original. You go into this one area; it's unfinished, and it's part of the actual mountain itself is exposed right there, and it's just that's where the highest EMF spikes are, because that's what you were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
That's what it said. Reportedly, a Indian, Native American, and his horse is buried into the mountain right there. They just used to build them right there and bury him. Now, I don't know if because they built on top of that, the old, Indian sacred ground kind of a thing,
Right.
if that's what's triggering some of these hauntings, or
Could be.
the intensity.
Could be a mix.
Yeah. Plus the murder, the
Right.
street, not even up the street, it's literally on the corner right there, is probably dragging some of that stuff down. All that negative energy is probably
Yeah.
create some crazy stuff.
Yeah,
But,
everybody just talked about it over the years since then.
yeah.
Just keeps
All
that
the
energy
traffic
going. Yeah.
dying out.
Yeah, it's insane to think that.
Well, and then Hollywood just did.
Yeah,
Quentin Tarantino just did that Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
which is a great movie, by the way. If you
Has-
haven't
haven't seen it
oh
yet.
man,
Yeah.
yeah, it's.
I heard
I wish you could.
Manson's not really in it that much. It's like a brief moment.
Basically, yeah,
But
but
it's has a lot to do with that moment where he shows up at the house and he's like looking for something.
there's a lot of stuff there. Yeah, I wish I could tell you if you
Well,
haven't
I've
seen
read
it,
all about it, so you know me.
'Cause
Sorry.
it's great. It's one of my favorite movies. I actually downloaded it and I'm gonna watch it. It's 3.5 hours. I'm gonna watch it on the flight out there because it's a long ass flight, by the way. From here, I'm going here to Vegas to LA, and yeah, I'm gonna watch it again on there because it's giving me something to do because I'm
So-
really bored.
Jesse, to let those who just joined us, Leo's heading off to California. He was invited to go to David Omen's house, which is haunted with possibly this. Well, I guess it is the actual spirits of from the Sharon Tate murders when the Manson family came in and murdered them all.
Right.
So Leo's got some. We're all pretty envious of this.
Right.
But
I wish the guys were going with me
I
because.
know.
Well, maybe in the future sometime.
Yeah.
And he said that's what kind of started this whole thing. He's like, "You guys are welcome out anytime. All of us were welcome out to come out there." And I just happened to throw that out there. Hey, I'll be out there in a couple of weeks. He's like, "Give me a call." And he gave me after the show. He gave me his information. I've been talking to him the last couple of weeks about it, and he's like, "Yeah." And I said, "We still good for Wednesday night?" He's like, "Yeah, I actually have a podcast going on, and I'll have you on that too if you want to." I'm like, "Of course." I mean, I'm not gonna, pass that up. I mean, I was gonna try to play real quick. Some of those EVPs I was talking about. Let me find those real quick while we're looking. I had them up earlier and I should have just kept them up. That was real smart. There it is.
That's all right. Is this the EVP that you played for us earlier?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is coming straight from
This is from Ghost Hunters.
From
Yeah.
back in the day.
from like season 2, right?
Season 1 or 2. I'll have to look. But give me a second. Let me put this up here.
But this EVP that you're about to listen to is pretty frightening.
Yeah.
Actually.
There's 2 of them on there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was.
There's 2 of them on here back to back. We'll talk about it after we come back from the playing it here. So tell me what you guys think, people at home.
What'd you hear?
Hold on a second here. Put this back in. So that was from the Ghost Hunters Taps group that was back in, like I said, it's episode 1 or 2, or season 1 or 2. And it's when they went out there to the Omen house and investigated and got some crazy stuff going on. And
Fairly certain that was Sharon Tate.
And especially that second one, it's like, why are you? To me, it says,
why are you doing
I hear,
this?
why are you doing this? And it's just,
And then
it's just terrible to even hear that. I don't even know why. I mean, the fact they caught that, even when they listened to it, like, oh my God, that's their look on their faces.
That's startling, man. To
See,
catch something like that.
See, that's kind of. I've been in a place like that.
Yeah.
With there's a house in northeast or northwest of Kansas.
Mm-hmm.
Or I'll just talk. I can't talk like that, but
You
it was in Hutchinson.
Yeah, Hutchinson.
It was a house that had a murder in it. We were invited out to check it out and to actually listen to the audio that we caught from that. Pretty sure we caught.
Sorry.
So.
That's funny.
But anyway, so back to the Hutch house. Listening to actual recordings of what you think is the possible attack happening and everything, it's pretty startling, and especially for the people that actually have to live in the house still. So, and if that's the crazy thing is if they caught that in David's house, and that wasn't even the site of the murder, that's still up the hill a little ways.
Yeah, it's, and like Jake and I were saying, we think it's the same property, so that's probably part of the reason why. It's like they just built on it.
Well, they came up that road themselves, They,
it just seems like the heaviest amount of residual,
Yeah.
It's a heavy amount still hanging around to be showing up in the house down the street.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure the original telephone pole was still there. Because what they did is that night Tex Watson went up there and climbed the actual telephone pole and cut the phone lines. And I think it's still there. I mean, the original pole is anyways. I don't know about anything else, if the rest of it is or not. But, yeah, like I said, the house has been torn down and replaced by a different house, and the address has been changed. But, like I said, David lives real close to where it's bleeding into his house, and it has for years.
Right.
And, like I said, he did his own movie on there too. It's called The House at the End of Cielo Drive, which, because of where the location is, because that's where the murder house was. And now he has his own book out called Ghost of Cielo Drive.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna pick one up when I'm out there. I'll bring one back, and we can kind of go over it. And he wants to come on the podcast too, which we'll have him on our show once we get all the bugs worked out here. I don't know what the hell's going on lately. It's been the last couple episodes where things have been bad. So
yeah, we were trying to do just you and I the other last weekend, and
yeah,
nothing.
Just wasn't happy with it. I don't know what the heck's going on.
I think we were getting closer to the right answers there with JFK.
That's right.
Government shut us down.
Government shut you down.
And like, what was I gonna say? Oh, going back to the Ghost Hunters episode, it was season 3, episode 12, when they were out there. But still, it was early on. They went 10 seasons,
Right.
over not 10 years, but over years. So I mean, it was like early on, and they were still kind of grainy and green, or little.
Well, they
little
caught
new.
that,
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yep. So they had a lot of K2 interaction too. I remember that. A lot of answers getting with the K2 and millimeter and stuff. It was just. So I'm gonna try to go out there and take some of the equipment, as long as the airways let me. Supposedly, I've looked into it already. I'm supposed to be able to take some of the stuff with me. And that's why I'm trying to pick and choose certain equipment. But they said we can take whatever we want. So.
Hey, Josh Gates does it all the time.
Yeah. But we'll see how it works, hopefully. But for those that just joined us, like I said, tune in this Wednesday, December 11th. I'm going to go live from there and do also the podcast from David Omen's house, his podcast. It's going to be at 7 o'clock their time, Pacific time, so our time will be 9 o'clock. And then I'll be followed an hour later with our podcast going live with the Ghost Hunt. So
you're doing Wednesdays?
Yeah, Wednesday the 11th. So I'll put it out there.
Wow.
So, yeah. I wish, like I said, I
forward to it.
wish the gang would come with me. That way I wouldn't feel so uneasy, but
Well, just knock him out and just throw him on a plane with you.
Yeah.
I'd like to because
I'll let you.
I need somebody. Like I said, it won't be so bad. It's just the airplane ride I'm dreading, but I made it this summer already once. I can do it again. It just
Yeah.
sucks. I hate flying.
Just drink a lot. Sorry.
Yeah.
That's what I do.
Yep. So what else has been going on, guys, this week, or as we last had the show? It's been a couple weeks now at this point.
Well, we never got to finish JFK, which is
Right.
fine. We can always do that another time.
Yeah.
And all that.
We got to a lot of it.
Yeah, we did.
We didn't cover. We thought we were going to cover was the hospital scenes and also the airplane ride back and stuff.
Yeah.
And
Stuff that could have happened, may have happened
Right.
on the flight back, but but it's there's weird things happening all the time, so
yeah, definitely.
it always seems to be happening with our gear, so
Boy, howdy, ain't that the truth?
No, so what do you guys think about this? I just saw it on the internet, so I had to share it on road trips thing. But people are starting to see the Mothman again.
I heard that.
Yeah. So what do you think about that? This time it's been seen in just outside of, and this was just toward the tail end of November. It was out along the fence line by cargo and all that at Chicago O'Hare International Airport.
Right.
Guy was outside smoking a cigarette and waiting, and he looked over and he said he saw it. People were saying that they were was seen down in Mexico, and it's just starting to pop up again. Now I don't know if I'm a big believer in it, but people see what they see, and I can't. I tell people that I see stuff, and they just look at me like, yeah, right, So it's not fair for me to laugh at this person and say, no, you didn't see that, because I've seen some shit that I can't explain to people,
Right.
And I know you have too.
Oh, yeah.
I know you have
We all
too.
have, yeah.
So, is it a chance that is it not a man or a moth man? Is it possibly?
Or is it moth?
I think it's a bird.
Is it moth man?
No, I mean there's different creatures that could be, pretty large and stand out there, and depends on what the guy was smoking too. So, Now, what's your thoughts, Leo?
I think it's cool. I mean, I've always been fascinated by that story, and I know Jake has said he didn't really. So the impression I got is you don't really believe in it, which is fine. You don't believe in Bigfoot for the most part, but you were down in Arkansas and you had some interesting things happen to you that it's kind of opened your eyes a little bit.
I've been talking about before the show, I've been analyzing a lot of that.
Right, I'm sure.
And it's kind of how Roth was.
We got to go back because.
Roth was that way too. So
Roth was that way until Tahlequah.
And he didn't even get a chance to experience anything. That's just it. So, but as
But
far as
seeing your reactions to it and seeing all the evidence of it that night, I think it turned his mind around. He wasn't there for the actual sighting.
Yeah.
But seeing your reaction and Brandon's reaction.
And Renee was there, and she was. Go ahead, she was.
Oh yeah,
Renee doesn't get scared very often. Well, she does. It'd
but
be foolish to say we don't get scared in this business, but she was like, for lack of a better term, she was white as a ghost. I mean, she was
didn't want to
scared.
get off the camper.
Yeah, she was freaked out, and she'll tell you. I mean,
yeah.
But
I just remember that.
If you want my honest opinion, the thing that bothers me the most about it is all the similarities in their stories to your stories.
down in Arkansas,
things they would tell me.
Yeah. Well,
they're telling me this stuff, and I'm like, God, I've heard the other guys tell me.
And it's not just
exact
ours.
Same stuff.
Right.
When we were on the Ectoplasm show with Josh Hurd and Jason Kupsik, sorry, I said his name wrong. We were having that conversation. Josh had the same kind of experience down in Arkansas, somewhere similar. It might have even been the same location.
Yeah.
I remember talking about a state or something like that, or it was close to Crescent City. I mean, I know that's not close, but close enough to where he was as dumbfounded as you were, thinking, "Holy crap! I'm hearing this. Like, you're telling my story, and it's like we had the same experiences, not too far from there, in Tahlequah. So, crazy.
I actually did a little looking on the landlines, and some of them that run to Tahlequah run right through there.
Oh yeah.
It's the same.
Down to Mena.
Yeah, it's the same
Arkansas.
lines, man. It's the same, coming through the same place.
Right.
So I
So
don't know. That's that. You know, whether the Bigfoot thing's real or not, I don't know. We got to go back.
Oh, we are.
I need you guys around there, but
we're gonna.
what that's
I'm
what
camping outside.
that's what compelled me though was how these people I'd never met before.
Mhm.
They didn't know me. I didn't know them.
Right.
Were telling me the same stories I've heard from you guys.
Yep.
So I'm like,
And I've only met
weird.
them once. I met them at KC Paracon,
Right.
so I mean, no, we didn't
Right,
chance to go
but
the stories that they told you.
You didn't tell them all that
No.
stuff. They didn't sit there and write it all down.
No,
the way
we
they
didn't tell them any of that stuff actually.
You know,
Because we chose to tread lightly about the Tahlequah experience because Callahan was there talking about it, so we didn't want to, we stuck.
overshine them.
Yeah,
or
we
anything
stuck
like
to the
that.
Bigfooting side of things
Right.
and played some evidence that we caught down there and other places. But
And see, that's part of the reason I was caught so off guard too. Is I thought we were going to look for aliens, which I was totally awesome with.
right,
And then all of a sudden it turned into Bigfoot and aliens, and
possibly paranormal.
I talked about the paranormal some. It's not
Not as
anything that they've
prominent.
looked into, but Orville says that there's things that happen there sometimes that's just weird,
yeah,
and that he even thinks that it's like the whole love and marriage thing, like you don't get one without the other. You
Right.
get the Bigfoots with the UFOs, with the paranormal, with all that stuff happening.
definitely.
So he's like, it's just kind of one area we hadn't ever really looked into, but he's like, every now and then really strange things happen that don't seem to fit into the other things, and that's probably what it is. And so
It's craziness. I mean, and it kind of goes back into what Jason was mentioning when we first started this talk. This Mothman is one of those, elusive creatures that has been seen. Started out, in West Virginia. The original sightings were where this thing would show up over a course of amount of days, and people's memories were getting jogged where they would black out, or basically if they made eye contact with this.
Wasn't he showing up before? Like small disasters would happen, like the bridge collapse in Wisconsin,
right.
I think it was.
Point Pleasant. Crap.
No, not Pleasant.
Yeah, it was
Point Pleasant crap.
Point Pleasant,
Pleasant
but
crap.
it's not. It wasn't Wisconsin.
West Virginia.
West Virginia.
I just said it. You weren't paying attention. You were on your phone.
Like people were saying that they'd signed them before some something like that would happen.
Yeah, it was coming out to their house. It was, but then that also led over to the next town over that was having that weird guy that was walking
Ingrid
around.
Cole.
Ingrid Cole.
Which I have him here too. I'll show you in a minute.
That was doing the kind of the Men in Black kind of thing, but he wasn't talking with people. He was just walking around with a smile.
Huh.
And he was walking into stores. He was just seen out and about. He stopped a guy along the road on the highway and approached him. And behind him was a bright light, like almost like a craft or something.
Huh.
And he went over to talk to the guy in his car, but the guy said, "I never once saw his mouth move. He was just staring at me in a weird."
Did words come?
He could hear it, but he couldn't
Like
see.
telepathically, maybe?
Yeah, I mean, it was weird. It wasn't, telepathic, I guess, is the best way to put it. He just never spoke with his mouth. You could just hear him talking, though. The guy had an interview. I mean, he's even interviewed and explained the entire scenario of what happened. All the while, just the next town over in Point Pleasant, people are seeing this Mothman creature everywhere. It's flying over their cars. It's chasing them down the highways.
Were they ever sighted at the same time?
I don't know. I don't know if there's any timeline of from when that was being done, and from police reports and to when this guy was being.
Something to look into.
It'd be something to look into. But it's kind of a weird case. And now that there's even rumors that people saw the Mothman flying around New York around 9/11.
Oh, I've heard that too.
Yeah.
Where they thought.
Well, yeah, I don't really.
That's probably just urban legend.
Yeah.
If I had to think one way or another.
yeah. But I just take that very lightly when it comes to people seeing it. But it's popping up in the news again, so.
Yeah,
it's enough to freak people out. So something's there. I think they're seeing
something.
something.
I'd rather see Mothman on the news than half the other crap all of it
Yes.
you see on there when you turn it on.
Why can't they talk about this more often though?
So what you're seeing here on screen now, up in the corner is Mothman. The image of him, what it's thought reportedly to look like, and then down in the bottom left corner, you're going to see is what Jason was talking about earlier. I can never say his name. I thought it was Ingrid, but it's Ingrid Cole.
Indrid
Cole.
Cole.
He's the guy that's in the picture in the doorway, of that, not too far from that car, where he's kind of lurking a little bit, just out of sight. Kind of looks like a Men in Black that we talked about before. Just bizarre, just weird, bizarre. Like Jason said, bizarre behaviors to just.
And good old Dan, who couldn't be here tonight, he's saying, well, if you are a prophecy follower, then yes, makes sense that the Mothman is being seen again. Listening to some of the radio shows, prophecies and the Mothman go hand in hand.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I don't know. You know, in Point Pleasant, you had the collapse of the bridge
Right.
that killed a few people, and
That reportedly after the bridge collapsed and everything went down, they didn't see the Mothman anymore. So maybe he was there to warn them, not scare them.
But so I wonder, you know, I mean, that's just one small town in America,
Right.
you know, that, yeah, bridge happened, but there's tragedies everywhere. Are people really seeing it everywhere? Is he showing up and people just don't know what they're seeing, or they're just missing it? Is he really like a symbol of tragedy to come?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's bizarre.
I mean, that'd be something that'd be kind of freaky, you know. You see, it's almost like, you know, you see that symbol of death. Almost, you know,
Right.
like, is that what he is? You know, is it what you call it? Maybe it's not a Mothman, but whatever, it's the angel of death
Yeah,
that's flying around.
could be.
Could be.
You know,
Yeah.
I mean,
I
I hate
look
to get
at
into
him.
that religious part of it because, you know, I get
Why?
angry with it. Well, you know me.
I mean, why not?
But
Because
no.
this has been such a happy show so
I know.
far.
But no, so it's weird, you know. What if it is? What if angels kind of look like that instead of what people imagine? You know, but it's crazy. It's to think that it could be flying around and then tragedy happens. And,
Yeah, I mean,
I
Yeah, I don't
mean,
know.
Dan's right. You know, all the stuff you read about it goes hand in hand.
Right.
So,
So what were they saying about the Chicago stuff? I mean, what was happening
just a guy reported it outside
at the airport? Wasn't
yeah,
the guy that worked there?
I believe so. He was.
He was on a smoke
I put-
break
I
or
put
something like that?
It's on Road Trip
Yeah.
Facebook page. I actually posted.
I think you posted it. You
article.
posted Cryptic also.
I did. I
Yeah,
did.
so,
only give him around there.
yep.
Okay, gotcha.
But,
Yeah, so he claims he was just out there taking a smoke break,
yeah.
and he's looking off by the fence, and he sees what looks like wings fluttering over there, and then he notices it's just walking away like a person,
Mm-hmm.
and then it just takes off, and the wings are just fluttering away. So.
It's an interesting headline. What the recent Chicago Mothman sightings mean for the future.
Dun, dun, dun.
Well, what does it mean?
Well, I'm trying to find that.
No.
Keep talking.
No, you keep talking.
I mean, do you think it's gonna be tragic? I mean, is there something in
I hope not.
coming down? Unless you're
So I'm getting ready to freaking fly tomorrow, so I don't,
Actually
want
started in
don't tell me that
West
shit.
Virginia.
hope it's not tragic, because I'm already on the edge as it is, man.
I know.
So,
I know.
but, no.
You're gonna let us know when you arrive, right?
Oh, yeah, I'll put it out there. I'm going to go live tomorrow, hopefully, just let them know I made it. California, this is what we're looking forward to. Looking forward to the weather, man, because it's supposed to be colder here. Well, it's colder now, but not cold.
Right.
But out there, I think Thursday's going to be a high of 75. It's just like, holy shit, dude.
Perfect.
Yeah, I'm going to be all week's supposed to be 67s
Oh,
and
it's so
70s.
You're gonna be
Yes.
in heaven, aren't you?
So
Yeah, I
nice.
just wish. I mean, I'm there to work, so
Yeah, you still have to
otherwise
do
I'd be screwing around every day, and who knows what's gonna happen.
that. You're gonna be on such a high working with David and everything, and then you're gonna be at work and be like, that's
Yep.
gonna be killer. That's gonna be horrible.
You know, like I said, hopefully it's the first of many opportunities for us. Because he said we can go out anytime we want to do, and like I said, I want the team to go out there and we could hit. I mean, Jason and I haven't talked about going to different spots, maybe like Tombstone or even other places, because
yeah.
that'd be fun.
Oh,
Because it's
man.
all in the
I
same
love
area.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be nice to go out there and just spend some time out there. if you felt squirrely, you drive all the way up to San Francisco, go to Alcatraz.
Yeah.
But it's a little bit of a drive away. It's like 7 hours away.
So check this out.
Go ahead.
After 4 major disasters, including the September 11th terrorist attacks in 2001, the 1986 nuclear explosion at Chernobyl, the recent swine flu outbreak in Mexico, and the 2007 Interstate 35 bridge collapse in Minneapolis,
Oh, yeah.
there were reported sightings of the Mothman at each tragic event shortly before or after they occurred.
You believe it?
Well, why not? I mean,
those are so far, apart from each other.
Honestly, I'd only
Dates and
heard about
stuff.
the bridge one. I didn't know about September 11th.
Yeah.
I'd never heard of Chernobyl or
You
the
know,
one in Mexico and
now
the
that you-
swine flu.
Now, I never heard about the swine flu, but now you mentioned Chernobyl, now I remember reading an article about that too.
I remember about the Minnesota bridge collapse.
I do remember that
It
one.
happened like 5 years ago.
Because like a couple days later, there was another story on the news about it where people were talking about Mothman.
Right.
They'd seen him like the day before. They'd seen him flying over that bridge. People
Yeah.
that had driven across that bridge like the day before had seen Mothman flying over it, and flying around out there.
So what do you think?
I like it.
Something to
I
it?
mean, it's possible. Anything's possible. Why not?
Well, I know, anything's
mean,
possible.
People talk about guardian angels all the time. Why can't it be something
I have a
similar?
friend of mine. She said back when her mom was younger, and I think she only had the one daughter that was real young, and she wasn't even born yet herself.
Uh-huh.
She remembers her mom telling a story of, and this was here in Kansas actually, was driving down dirt roads, a bunch of teenagers having fun, when a very large black bird of some kind, it was huge, they said, came right along the side of their car, flew over their car, and was just basically following them down the dirt roads and everything, and it was massive, huge black creature that they couldn't tell what in the world was, scared them to death.
Right.
They just drove and drove and drove until it finally just darted off.
It's crazy. Did anything happen to him?
No, not that I
That's
know
our
of. I mean,
knowledge.
I don't think their life has been great since, but
Because that was you ever watched the movie? The movie, it's old. I mean, it's dated, but it's still a good thing. I mean, as far as what happens, because it's kind of spooky with the whole guy. I can't remember the guy's name in the movie, but he keeps showing up different places and keeps calling this lawyer who happened to be Richard Gere in the movie, but he keeps calling him and trying to say just talking to him, and he keeps getting these random phone calls with scratchiness.
the Mothman prophecies.
Yeah, it's a good flick. It's just dated. I mean, as far as the way it looks, but
It's dated.
it's
but
still pretty spooky, and also not, if that makes sense.
And it also talks about Indra Cole in that movie too,
Mm-hmm. Right.
about him showing up and all that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's worth a watch.
Richard
I watched
Gere,
it every
yeah.
time it's on. I watch it.
I own it,
watch it.
actually.
Yeah, I know you did.
Yeah.
I remember that. Yeah, it's good for what it is. I mean, it's crazy. It's kind of scary, like I said, but then at the same time,
It
it's
deals
really
with
not.
the bridge collapse in Point Pleasant.
Does it?
Yeah.
They always, and the thing I remember about the movie is they keep going back to every morning 3:00.
Yeah.
Something happens basically, or whatever, and it's just
Phone call or something.
yeah,
3
it's pretty
o'clock.
wild. Yeah. And I don't know. The whole thing is it's crazy. They lose
Red
they lose
eyes.
track of time. Yeah, I mean he's driving. He doesn't remember how he gets to one spot to the other. It's just bizarre. I mean,
I've had that happen.
well, I have too. There's times I
You
drive every day
guys
from
lost
work.
time while you're driving,
All the time.
and you're all of a sudden it's like, whoa!
It's like how to
I
get this
don't remember
far.
the last 5 miles.
Yep.
Any of it. Okay, I'm so glad I'm not the only
No,
person
it happens.
that's-
We talked about that before. It's happened more often than not, where you're driving on a highway or something, or especially after work.
You
You're
realize
just
like a
in the
stretch
zone.
of it, you don't remember any
You're like,
of it.
okay, this should be coming. Wait a minute. I've already passed that. Holy
Like
crap! I passed that
nothing.
miles ago. Oh my god, that's
Because
crazy.
it's the aliens. They're
Yeah,
coming to get you.
I've actually read on the theories on that where that's the time they abducted you,
Yep.
and there is that time for you.
They pick
I
you up
mean-
and drop you back, and you've had all this time happen, and you've missed that 2 hours.
I've,
Oh
You
my
missed
god.
that hour.
I like that one though. I like that one.
Just gonna laugh because
I mean, it happens to us every year, so
what does?
lots of time.
Oh yeah. To make you a time traveler?
I don't know. It's called daylight savings time, but it's like whatever.
Yeah, you're
I
not wrong.
refuse to acknowledge that, mainly because I can't remember how to reset the clock on my car, so I just roll with it the way it
Let's
is.
wait till next year when it's gonna, or next.
It'll come back around. It'll be right again.
That's funny. Yeah, I don't know. It's interesting they're saying this because they haven't seen. Well, there hasn't been that big of reports, other than what you said earlier about 9/11 and stuff and the bridge and stuff of this thing showing up. But why now? Who knows? I mean, I don't know what's going to happen,
Right.
if anything at all, or
Who
what.
knows? Well, now we'll just have to watch for something to happen and see if it does.
Okay, let me throw this out here. I was happening to be, just through Twitter and stuff. Was this at O'Hare? This happened?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
was it Midway? Because there are two different airports in Chicago.
Yeah, this was O'Hare.
Okay, so when was this supposedly that happened?
I'm trying to look up what
November
the-
26th.
So not that long ago. We're at about Thanksgiving, right?
Yeah, let me look it up. I have it on.
Yeah, on the page.
Yeah, I'll just look it up.
The reason I asked that, how weird is it that yesterday, and this is coincidental, I'm sure, but there was a rapper, Juice WRLD. This is his name. He died in Midway, he died at Midway. He went into seizures, and he's 21 years old, and just passed away. Yeah.
Huh.
Now, is it coincidental? Probably, but I mean, us, celebrity to some circles,
Yeah, he wasn't nearly the only person that died in Chicago that day, I'm sure.
Oh God, every weekend,
Um,
every day. Yeah,
yeah.
they're the highest probably murder capital in the world.
Shootout
Or
factory
in
over
the
there.
U.S. Yeah, but I'm just saying, how crazy is that? I mean, yes, it's been a couple weeks, but still, I don't know. I couldn't think of anything else that was, close to that as far
And
as.
there was the, I guess what, the day before or whatever, there was a shootout at Naval Base in Pensacola.
Yeah, it's been a couple weird things, but that always goes on.
Yeah.
I mean, so
Pearl
that's-
Harbor Day, so
Yeah, there was
there was one
in Pearl Harbor.
At Pearl Harbor
Yeah.
the day before.
Yep.
And then there was one at Pensacola on Pearl Harbor Day.
Yeah, and
So-
then there was another one. Well, there's been a couple of police officer shootings. There's been a lot of weird ones around here lately in
You know,
Wichita.
the jewel robbery shootout
In Germany.
Florida.
Oh, there's one in Germany too.
Oh no, there was the one. in
Oh, you're talking about
Florida
the UPS
where
truck.
the guys
Yeah.
robbed the jewel store, killed the people in
Yeah.
there.
I thought you
killed
meant
UPS driver.
the one that happened in Germany.
Stole, I mean, Jesus, the worst getaway car you could think of.
Yeah,
The
slow
giant
and
brown.
yeah.
I used to work on UPS trucks, and if you get one of those up to 55, you're doing damn good.
just unfortunate that the
Yeah,
UPS
it's-
driver was killed
It's
also,
terrible.
and then a bystander at the end of the chase
Well,
happened.
yeah, because, and I mean, we could get into that, but
Yeah,
if you look at the overhead footage of the perimeter on that final shootout, there was some bad gun practice going on.
Yeah.
there.
right. And that's
So
that's why they don't know if that's what it was. It was the police officer because they heard a gunshot.
Well, they will now.
Yeah.
They will
Well,
now.
eventually
Forensics
ballistics.
will tell you where that bullet
Yeah.
came from.
Sorry, Jason. Go ahead. What day?
For the O'Hare sighting, it was at 6:30 p.m. November 26th, so just recently.
Wow.
And
So it wouldn't
6:30,
have been-
it
6:30
wouldn't.
would be at this time of year. 6:30 would be pretty dusky. I mean, it'd be
Yeah.
gray. It'd be gray out.
Yeah.
Depending on how far it was just right outside of a fence by the parking lot.
You know, that place is huge.
That's crazy.
So
Yeah, that he saw a figure there,
Yeah.
had wings that were flapping, and I mean that's enough for him to probably say, "Well, what the hell is that?"
Right.
Seeing the fluttering of wings.
Sure.
So
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. Who knows? Like I said, hopefully it doesn't have anything to do with me. So,
No,
like I said, I don't want to think about that shit. But no, I don't know. There's just been it's an interesting story in itself. There's so many creatures like that across the U.S. I mean, well, hell, Bigfoot. That's another one. I mean, the different
Chupacabra.
variations. Chupacabra, another one. Too.
I got those on my shirt.
I
You
saw
got
that.
your bright unicorn. Is this what you cover?
Yeah.
Is that porcupine?
No, that's chupacabra. That's what it's actually supposed to look like, not the mangy dog that
What?
Texas
Let me
says.
see.
I
Stand up.
always view my
Oh.
chupacabra as like a little lizard man.
Yeah, well, he's a little lizard man.
He's like, porcupine.
He has spines on him. He has like little.
No, he's like a bearded dragon. Got all the little spikes on him.
Oh my God.
But they said he's about this high. He walks on two legs.
I always look at him like a little green scaly creature guy with pointy ears,
Like a gremlin,
sharp teeth, kind of.
gremlin or
Only
goblin.
bigger. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. But yeah, I'll be curious to see what happens, if anything.
No, so will I.
I mean, just over the next couple of weeks, if anything happens in Chicago, because it's usually what it is. It happens in that location.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. Very, very strange, man.
It could be, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
it's still interesting to read all those sightings and everything to it, but it'll keep me interested and keep me going.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Since it hasn't popped up in a while, so I thought it'd be pretty cool to keep an eye on it now.
Right.
Not that I want anything bad to happen,
No, but
at all. But
you could pinpoint it back to
But if
something.
you gotta research it, you gotta research it.
right.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, that's the end of our show.
But,
Okay.
'Cause I'm out of things to say, kind of.
Exciting news, all the
No.
new Ghostbusters 2020 screenshots coming out. It's cool stuff. We throw
Yeah,
that
sure.
out there.
Very true.
I love the screenshots of the Ecto just hauling ass across the cut wheat field. That's awesome. That's like some stuff I would do. When I saw that picture, I felt pretty at home.
It's
Oh
amazing.
man, I've driven a car across the field like that before. If only I could do that one.
It's amazing how many people think that's what we do. I mean, like have the same type of contraptions and stuff as Ghostbusters and
Oh,
stuff.
Yeah. So let's talk about the little myths on all this stuff.
The mess.
The mess. There's a
There's
mess.
a mess.
Myths.
Oh, we both thought you said mess.
Clean your ears out.
I heard
you were
mess
you were
too,
taking
I'm
a drink at the
saying
same time.
Myths.
The myths on what?
What people think, what we do
Oh, I
on
gotcha.
a daily basis on all this stuff.
They
I
drink
mean,
went
it's
down there with the ghost trap
oh my
and,
god.
and the laser guns and
You know,
set the ghost in the ghost trap and put it in a big boiler back at the headquarters with all the
Yeah.
other ghosts.
everyone's like always, like, who you gonna call? When we're at the
Events
you know,
and
talking about events and
Right.
everything like that, and I just want to like slap them a little bit.
Yeah.
Most of the time I just let it roll
It's
off.
fun.
It's whatever.
Yeah.
But then I had a ghost tour. You were there, and as everyone's getting off the bus, everyone's like, oh, this is so much fun. I love what you guys do and everything like that. Then there's this one asshole,
The old guy?
the old guy, who walks past and he goes, my 74 years, I've never seen a damn thing.
And the odd
And I
part,
just said, all right, hey, take care.
the oddest part about that was he seemed interested the whole night.
Oh, yeah.
He hadn't said anything.
His wife
But
was
he seemed
fascinated and
interested.
Yeah.
into it.
You know,
She's seen things. And
he
everything,
stood there and smiled and didn't,
Yeah.
Seemed cordial about everything.
Yeah, I
And
mean,
then
I'm
at
not
the very end,
surprised.
he's like, "Yeah, my 74 years, I've never had nothing happen." And just like storms over. It's like, "All right, see
Yeah,
you,
just
buddy."
walks
Well,
up
I mean,
to us.
how many people out there?
Later, dude.
How many people in the world? 7.5 billion. How many people have had something happen to them?
Probably
Probably more often than not. Or, my favorite thing is when we do public investigations, and I'm like, just doing our thing basically, and working with the public. And usually when I hear something, I'll let it sit there for like a couple of seconds and just look around the room, make sure anybody's
See who else reacts.
see who's reacting, if anybody talking, moving,
Right.
whatever, and then I'll sit there and goes, okay, nobody said anything. Did you guys hear that voice right there? Oh, is that what I was hearing? So a lot of them are surprised they're even hearing it because
Right.
they're like, oh, I've been hearing that.
Well, at
Well,
first
you don't know what you're hearing.
At first, your mind doesn't want you to believe
Right.
that this is actually happening. Holy shit! Oh man, it really is actually happening.
Right. Because even when we first started doing this, I was hearing things, and you guys weren't, when I first were around Jason and
Oh,
Claire
yeah.
and them, I looked at you guys, I'm like, why isn't anybody reacting to this crap? And nobody would say
It's
anything.
because none of us knew exactly what to listen for.
Right.
And I'm sitting there going, okay, I'm going to speak up because I'm hearing this crazy shit. I'm seeing things. I'm like, are you guys seeing this?
And,
Are you
and
hearing
I'm,
this?
and I'm sorry, it even people who before you joined the
Right.
team, those who I will not name,
I know.
but
Those who shall not be named.
they've been doing it for a few years. They were doing it for themselves.
I'll name them.
They were doing this for a while themselves, but
Right.
yet they weren't hearing the things that you were hearing.
Right.
And here I am, kind of new in it too, and I'm like trying my best to figure out what I'm supposed to be listening for.
Yeah.
We ask the same questions over and over again. We're expecting a ghost to go and knock on a wall.
And they will.
Sometimes I do.
They will.
I know. Then it's like, oh my god, did that just happen? Or shut the door.
Right.
Scares you.
Right.
But and then you come along and you're like, is no one else hearing this talking in this room? And everyone
Right.
just like looks over and goes, no. Because I even remember their reactions.
Oh, I do too. I do too.
You know, they'll just go, no.
Yeah.
It's like, well, because they didn't hear it, so it didn't actually happen.
Right, in their mind, it's not happening.
So, but we go back and listen to the audio, and hell, hot damn, it's right there.
Well, and then even when we were in the basement, it ended up being all the guys at one point. It was Ben, myself, you, and Brendan. And we're all just sitting there in complete black, nothing. I mean, you can't see your hand in front of your face. And I'm like, looking all of a sudden, I'm going, are you guys seeing these red laser pointers, like grid things, moving across the room? And they're like, holy shit, I do see those. And I'm like, okay, finally.
It took me a while, but
yeah, everybody started
pointed it out.
Everybody started, so I'm like, there's one right there. You see it? And I'm telling them exactly where you should be looking at. And yeah, they're like, oh yeah, we do see those too.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, it's not just me seeing these red floating, looks like laser pointers without the end trail of the laser.
And then on later cases, that's what I try to look for.
We started seeing those more often.
The shadows, you always question if you just saw a shadow and you keep watching it.
Like
And now and then you'll see it again, and you're like, oh, I am seeing this.
Yeah.
But how do you see a shadow in the darkness?
That's just it.
Well,
it's so hard.
Because, all the ghost shows explain it, but you don't really understand it until you've been there. And I know that we've all been there and seen the darker than dark.
Yep.
Right.
The times when dark becomes darker, and it's hard. It doesn't sound like it makes any sense, but I'm sure we've all been there when it happens, and it's strange, man, how the dark gets darker, and you're like this.
Right.
You wouldn't think that, you could see something in the dark like that, but you can.
Yeah.
You can, it'll happen.
Yeah, whether it be a dark shadow or a white mist or something.
There's even a time, if Dan's still watching, he can contest to the spot we were at in Dodge. The one in the depot is another spot that just me and him were doing. And we actually had a shadow that was kind of going in and out of some rooms along the hallway.
Sure.
And then it ended up coming out of one, and it walked in between us.
Mm-hmm.
Like we were just on either side of a hallway from each other, and it walked right in between us.
Awesome.
And that was really strange. We were just standing there looking at each other like, did you see that? Did that just walk right through here, like in between us? I'm like, yeah, because I was looking at you right across the hallway. Even in the dark.
Yeah.
You could see. I could see him, and it straight blocked him out. So
I know what you're talking about. So yeah, that's one of the first things when we first started going there, seeing things. That's why we shoot laser grids down the hallway most of the time.
No,
it's not the second floor.
No, it's not at the depot at all. It's at a place only me and Dan have done.
Oh, they said it was at the depot. I'm sorry. I was like, okay.
We were
okay.
at the depot the next day, and me and Dan went out there.
I got you.
The night before and did a place.
Okay. I got you.
Oh, that's right. I remember.
I got you now.
Yeah.
I know you're talking about now. You're talking about the other place.
Yeah, the
okay.
other place. But,
sorry, I thought you said it was at the depot.
Yeah, we straight up had a shadow walk between us in that
That's
place.
crazy.
Just in between us in the hallway.
Nice.
Yeah,
I wish I
it
could've
was
went to
dark,
that.
but you could see it. I mean, for sure you could see it.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I don't know, because I'm trying to think what I'm going to say now. Yeah, you made me think about something, talking about shadows and stuff. Hell, I don't know. losing my mind.
First time I went to the depot, I saw Walter in the basement.
Yeah.
And we weren't even.
I still have not yet seen
We weren't even doing anything. All I was doing was setting up a camera, which I didn't even know all the way how to do yet, because that was my first investigation with you guys, where I was trying to be part of the team, And so basically, I just went down with Jeremiah to carry a camera down there and string some cable back up. And, I saw Walter. I thought he was Jeremiah. I was more confused at that moment than startled, because I didn't know my way around down there. And I thought Jeremiah had went a different way or something. I thought it was him. And so I'm waiting, and then all of a sudden he's like, "What are you waiting for?" And then he's standing behind me. I'm like, "Whoa, man." What's up? So he's down there.
Oh yeah.
So do you think investigating, we have to have all the gear?
Not necessarily.
Yeah.
No, but
I think the gear is more for show for people.
It is, but then it also diversifies the things you can do to try to solidify anything,
Yeah.
Communicate.
It gives you way more options on trying to do stuff. I think, because, like we've explained before, it can get boring. It can.
Oh, yeah.
Hours of nothing going on, so at least you got all these toys where it's like, screw it, let's go try this. No, we ain't tried this yet.
But you get a lot of people who think, it possibly is going to be manipulated and stuff like that.
Some of that stuff can be.
Yeah, and it can be.
I'm
it
not
can
clever enough to do it though.
But
I'm barely clever enough to put the batteries in it and make it do what it's supposed to do.
I always tell people, if you want to just investigate, you don't need any of this crap. If you just get a flashlight, a recorder in your hand,
Right. Well,
walk,
I mean, what was
just walk around,
Yeah.
for the longest time, all I had was my SB7 that Liz had bought me for my birthday, and
Right.
that flashlight, my mag light. That's all I had. That was it. Worked fine.
Well, I mean, when we first started, all we had was a DVR and some millimeters and a couple recorders.
Yeah.
And we didn't have any cameras, handhelds at all. We didn't have any RAM pods. We didn't have anything like that. Nothing motion. We just had basically us. And
Yeah.
we caught stuff all the time
Oh,
that
yeah.
way too. I mean, now that we have these other stuff,
Well, then you look at people that
nowadays
consider
stuff.
pros like Dan Terry.
yeah,
That dude's awesome. He really is, and he'll check out all the equipment you got.
Sure.
And he'll be interested in it, want to know about it, and check
Right.
it out.
But he sticks
So,
with what he's safe with.
He takes the
Yeah.
dowsing
Yeah.
rods and he makes
Yeah.
magical things happen with them. So it's
yeah, that's what I was gonna say earlier.
you don't have to have the stuff. It just increases your options, really.
Right.
In my
No,
opinion.
with the equipment, it helps kind of like you said, validate some of the claims, or get maybe communication through it. If you light this thing up, it's yes or no, whatever,
Right.
possibly. But if you talk to we try to take. We're not scientists by any means. We're just people that do this. I mean, this is what we do as a side job. If you talk to any scientists, they'll say a lot of stuff you're seeing is in your mind. The red dots is the
Psychology.
it's the lights reflecting in the back of your cones in your eyes, whatever. The shadows you see is always from the side, supposedly. That's just your vision playing tricks on you because it goes from gray to color, off the side of your eyes, basically.
What about the voices and the whispers?
They say they don't exist. They say those are all in your head.
On your head.
Yeah, I mean, there's reports out there. You Google it.
So
scientists.
even recordings doesn't fake.
Are you really capturing what you think you're capturing? I mean, like,
I don't know.
we've caught some good stuff. I mean,
Because
without it being a class A AVP, some of the stuff we hear, the whispers, the
Right.
noises, it's just like, is
for
that
those
really what it is?
scientists, I'd like to say, I didn't hear a damn thing all night long.
Right.
But when I go back and listen to an audio recorder, there's
Right.
somebody talking
Right.
right next to me, and I can prove, I can say I was the only one in that room.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But without them,
and I knew where everybody else
without
was.
them being with you, they're going to still
Right.
quote
There's
false to
still
your
some
theories.
stuff.
I mean, they're going to say, well,
We can say that about
Yeah.
anybody's
It's just
job
like-
themselves.
They're gonna
Just
say
like
it's
it always comes down to your personal experience.
you're right, right.
You'll have all the equipment in the world
Yep.
that can help prove or disprove things, but unless you're there using it, or at least there with the people using it, it's tough to get through to, especially somebody who's skeptical about it,
Right.
how the experience feels when you're there.
Because a lot of this equipment, too, has been modified. That's just it. I mean, it's
Oh,
not
yeah.
like the radios we have. It's just a radio. But it's been modified to speed up one way or
Right.
the other. And
Right.
it's playing frequency, possible radio frequencies,
Right.
over the sweeping, whatever. So what we're hearing, is it really what we're hearing? But
And the SLS is just a modified
Yeah.
Xbox 360 and a tablet, they've just
Right.
been modified.
is it
So,
something in the software that's doing it? I mean, you could pick apart all this stuff we use.
and then like the SLS is a good example. People often ask me why I'll have the main screen on
Mm-hmm.
and I'll have the little
Right,
weird
mapping.
color screen
Mm-hmm.
thing on the side. Well, because something I learned about using the SLS by having it over by watching the shows, seeing it on the shows obviously made me want it.
Right.
But something they don't show you on there, and why I always wondered why they'll have it on, but they never explain, is that little color screen. The SLS is awesome, but yes, sometimes it will. If I was shining in this room with the lights off and I looked at one of these tripods,
Right. It's going to map.
it's
Awesome.
going to try to map that. Or
Yeah.
if you're in a lot of the old buildings we go in has pillars here or there
Right.
or supports. It'll try to map those.
It
So
maps out tombstones.
if you
and all
have that
yeah.
little color screen up, you can see when it's trying to map something. That
Yeah.
it's when you're standing there looking into an open space and it's mapping something that's
That's
But
what I loved about the 50th episode we did down at the shop when we did that, because before I could even tell you guys or whoever, somebody said something to turn on your flashlights to show, you guys already were doing it. because you were mapping something. I think it was David walking down there, or somebody. One is David or somebody walking in front of you guys, and it was mapping him plus something next to him on the floor. I think, if I remember right.
It ended up going on the floor, and then the crowd
Yeah,
walk away.
which
by the forklift.
It's cool in itself. That's awesome. But then all of a sudden, when you guys turn your flashlight on right away, and there's nobody there, and it's still picking up on this thing. It's like, oh, okay, maybe it is something
It's
there.
not supposed to do that.
Right.
It's supposed to not only map things that are there.
Right.
And technically it just uses a big laser grid.
Yeah.
That's hard to see as infrared, so that's why you can see it on some of our cameras.
Right.
That's all it does. It just shines out a big infrared laser grid and maps what it thinks is people. It's not necessarily a smart piece of equipment.
Right.
It just knows to shine this grid out, and if it sees a person there or something that looks like a person, make it show on the screen. That's really all it does.
Right. Because even Jason mentioned that what was it? We were talking about it one day, just in general. Because I was saying, I don't know if it works or not. I've seen some stuff on it that makes me think it works. Because I took it down to the salon here in Wichita, and it was myself by myself in there with a group of inexperienced people. I mean, they weren't ghost hunters; they were just there for the thrill of it.
Right.
And I had a REM pod set up, and it's in a corner that Jason said I'd never been in there, and so he never goes back there. He says it's part of it.
Yeah.
Until recently, he started.
That's where like the HVAC is and stuff.
No, it's where we stand, and I always tell the stories to the crowd on the tours.
Just the room with the door closed?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's the one.
I've
You
never
never
been
been in there?
No.
Okay, I thought you guys always went in that one.
No, never did.
I just happened to set up a REM pod back there because I was seeing shadows and stuff.
Back in that
And,
room? Yeah.
and I had a guy with me who is an ex-sheriff, so he's going to be real skeptical about stuff.
Absolutely, yeah.
He had a REM pod, or he had the millimeter, and he was getting huge hits on that corner.
Okay.
And the REM pod was going off. So I took, and then somebody else was carrying the SLS, I wasn't carrying it. Which I wish I had been filming this, because I was expecting it to film onto the software and save it.
Yeah.
Because I had pushed record, and it's supposed to be
Very hard to
recording.
get those things
Yeah.
recorded.
Which we need to start recording behind.
Right.
We do sometimes.
That's the best way to
Yeah.
do it, in my
But-
opinion, but
We happened to go back in that corner, all this stuff was going on, and on the floor was one of the guys, I think it was the sheriff with the millimeter in his hand, and on the floor was this thing looked like it was shot, crawling, kind of like laying there,
Oh,
and that's
really?
where the shadow was
it was
happening.
right by the REM pod where
Yeah, and it was going off. So we had the REM pod going off, we had the millimeter high spikes, we had shadow play, and we had the SLS going.
Okay, now see, there's a perfect example of having all the equipment.
Right.
Sure, you could have stood in there with a flashlight and a pair of dowsing rods
Mm-hmm.
and got answers to questions, stuff like
Possibly.
that. But we had the equipment, so you had it turned on, and when one piece of equipment can validate another piece of equipment, and
Right.
then when you can have three pieces of equipment validate each other plus personal experience
Right.
with seeing the shadow play, I mean, that's something that unless you're there or unless you have been there before, it's tough, it's tough to get across to people who have never.
Right. Because I wouldn't have gone in that corner had I not seen that shadow.
Right.
That's what alerted me to looking. Oh, what's in that corner? What's back there? Oh, I see a shadow sticking out of there. And I think somebody else had saw it too. That's the reason I'm like, let's go check this out. We put it on there and did all this stuff, and yeah, it just was enough to where the sheriff was like, oh man, that's awesome. Because I mean, he had his own ghost stories.
How did he go away from that night?
Oh, he was a believer before that, for the most part, already. But yeah, he wanted some. I mean, he'd never done anything like that.
Right, but
So I think it
how
helped.
do you feel about everything?
Oh, he
after
still
the
loves it.
episode?
He comes up to me and I work with him. He's like, that was pretty awesome that night.
Okay, you work with him?
Yeah, well, indirectly, but yeah. But yeah, he was like, that's pretty awesome. The fact that, you guys, he still talks about that moment and stuff. And there was some stuff that went on that night that didn't make any sense. Because I love to point out I played some of the audio we caught with the screams and stuff. And I'm like, okay, could have been outside? Of course.
I mean, it could have
Of
been
course.
worse.
But I said, do me a favor, listen right now. Do you hear anything right now? And they're like,
Yes.
you know
It's
what?
tough.
That's what I keep.
You know what?
That's
I don't
what
hear anything at all.
Exactly.
And that's what I love about the place, because it's pretty soundproof
It is.
to an extent. You can hear some cars.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
can hear loud motorcycles.
Yeah, all the time.
Something blowing by, but that's about it.
Yeah. So the fact that I love pointing that out to everybody. Like, oh crap, you really can't hear anything. And we caught
Right.
these screams, and the we caught interaction with who we think is Red, who was one of the ghosts pulled down there, and we know for a fact that he perished down there.
Well, and Corey and I just going in there, we went in there to test those cameras out that I bought.
Oh, right.
And we were just working in there and just sitting there for we were just setting things up. Hadn't even hit any recorders or nothing. And you hear a loud scream inside the building.
Yeah.
It was loud and clear. It sounded just like what you caught on your recorder.
Right.
But we heard it with our own ears this time. And I was like, oh my God. We're looking at each other and it's like, of course we don't have anything recorded, Of course not.
Well,
cell phones.
Always happens.
Yeah, cell phones.
That's what
We
shut off there.
Setting up and breaking down.
I know.
Are the two times where something's going to happen.
And Leo's rule: get out of the car and hit record. And start recording.
I'm on record all the time. I know it makes that much longer to listen to, other than just if we do a 4-hour investigation. I have probably 10 hours of video or footage. Audio. So, but still,